Hello everyone, this is Classy Stevo back at it again where the madness lives on with classic bodybuilding. So I wanted to pick up from the last YouTube video about my first competition in Corona, California for that classic physique division. Now, strengths and weaknesses, basically that's what I wanted to cover today. I thought that was a very good topic to pick. Not only just for competitions in general, but for bodybuilding. It is extremely important and vital that we have, all of our different body parts, mechanical functions, muscles, all working together efficiently. And for that to happen, it's really important to have that balance. Because strengths and weaknesses, not only for a physical standpoint in the way you look, but also having those weaknesses turned into your strengths will help you from preventing injuries. That's something that's very, very important. And of course, we all have our strengths and our particular areas that we're, very strong with, and we love hitting them. Like me, for example, back. Oh my gosh, I could hit back all day, every day if I wanted to, because it's a stronger point of mine. I absolutely love it. I hit a lot of back poses and so on and so forth. So that's something that I always love working on, but you can't neglect your weaknesses because those are just as important, if not more important, to hit. So today I wanted to kind of go into my competition specifically over the first photos and whatnot and show you several basically lineup of all of the different poses and showing exactly the areas that I kind of, I guess in a sense, flopped with that I'm going to be working very hard on in this off season. So let's kind of just jump right into this, guys. If we look at this very first pose here, the 3/4 back double bicep twist, or the, as I call it, the Arnold Schwarzenegger pose, because of course that was his iconic one of his iconic poses back in the day. Now I have to say automatically straight off the bat, this is definitely one of my strongest poses that I've got. I love hitting it. I've hit it since day one when I first started bodybuilding. So I've been practicing on it for years. But if you look closely at this photo, some strong suits, obviously the back is, in my opinion, very well structured. It looks like there's a good flow to it in comparison to how the waist appears. You can see those upper and lower lats kind of just pulling out from the waistline. So I feel like that is a very good overall stance there. The arms are pretty decent in shape. I feel like I could still add some size onto my arms. They aren't necessarily my weak points, but they are definitely not my strong points. I could definitely add some more overall size to them, as well as the forearms. The other thing that has really taken my attention in this photo are my upper legs. I feel like those hamstrings and quads could definitely be bigger in that photo. Of course, angles can kind of play a role in bodybuilding, so just because you have a big muscle, it can look smaller on an angle. But overall, I think that my legs on the upper parts could definitely use some work. The calves aren't too bad. They look pretty good from the side there overall. So, but I do generally like hitting this pose a lot. If we move onward to the side double bicep pose, I showed this in my last video as well. I wanted to critique this a little bit. I feel like overall my chest could definitely use some major work. That's going to be a huge point on my overall off season, is the chest to really bring up. I definitely need some more size on that to really bring out that classic look. The arms, same thing, could definitely use some more size overall. And then getting those out, the obliques a little tighter. Now, when I was heading into the competition, and I will talk more about this in my future videos ahead, is my overall water retention and conditioning. That was definitely, I would say, amongst everything in the show, the number one thing that I could have done better on was the conditioning factor, because we need to really be able to come in showing as much muscle as possible. And in order to do that, you need that conditioning, and water weight really plays a role too. You don't want to come in bloated, because that's going to make you look soft, and it's going to take away a lot of your special physique details and whatnot. So you definitely want to make sure that your conditioning is on point, and I'm going to get more into that here in a second. But overall, in this pose, you can just tell that my upper legs, once again, could definitely use some more size and detail. If we move onward, the vacuum pose that I showed the other day, I do like hitting the vacuum a lot. I think the vacuum looks pretty decent in this photo. I think it could be a little better, but it doesn't look too bad. Now again, the legs, they do look a little bit bigger from this angle, but as you can tell, the conditioning wasn't there like it should have been. Now, I don't believe I was really flexing my legs in this photo too much. But I feel like the conditioning could definitely be better, as well as bringing those arms up more to kind of give that vacuum a little more symmetry and flow. If we move onward here, this is the archer pose, as many call it. Now, I do like this shot. The legs look a little bit better. You can see the teardrop formation in that inner quadricep. That is one hell of a teardrop, if I say so myself, but it looks pretty decent. There's overall the posing. It's very well aligned with the arms going straight across. Now, I feel like I put a tad bit too much of a curve and swerve into my body formation there. And I could have brought out the shoulders a little bit more to make my upper body look a little more wider. It's not the best angle in the world, but it was one of my more favorite poses, doing the archer. But yeah, definitely could use some more mass on the arms for sure. And if my pose was just a little more corrected as far as the overall form, I think that could have turned out a lot better. I still like it overall. Moving forward, of course, the lat spread is probably one of my most strongest poses. I don't see too much wrong with this particular pose in this photo. I would say, of course, conditioning, like all the rest, could definitely be improved. The only real critiquing that I see in this particular one is that my chest could be better. It does look rather flat in there. It could use some more thickness and size. As well as just getting those abdominals a little more conditioned as well, of course, and that all flows back into the waterway and water retention and whatnot. But I do like that one. It definitely shows that upper overall width of the shoulders down to the waist and the legs. If we move on to the next one, this is the rear lat spread. I really love doing this one. Unfortunately, I feel like with this one, I could have pulled my shoulders just a tad bit more forward. I kind of stopped in like a neutral position midway, so it did show a decent amount of the lats, but overall I feel like the lats could have been pulled out even more forward to bring those outer lats out more. And then with my legs, I feel like the glutes and the rear hamstrings could have used some more toning and whatnot. Overall, it's not too bad, but I definitely feel like it could be pulled out a little bit more. Moving on to this one, the rear double back bicep pose, which is common amongst all different kinds of bodybuilding events and whatnot. This one, I, as you could probably tell right off the bat, crunched my scapula too much together rather than pulling it out. I was basically halfway through the pose in this one and didn't quite pull it, at least with this particular camera shot, pull it back outward. Now, I'm not sure if I was still doing a transition when they took this photo or not, but I could tell you right off the bat, yes, my back is too contracted. It needed to be pulled back out to bring out that overall width. So that's something that I feel like I'm not sure, like I said, if this was done in the middle of me transitioning, but overall I still like the overall definition. The definition of the back actually looks pretty decent in this photo. The arms, not too bad. The bicep peaks could be a little bit stronger, as well as the forearms, and then of course the rear legs could use a little more toning and definition as well, but I'm pretty happy with this one. I'm just not entirely sure if it was taken midway through that transitioning of the pose. So if we move onward, I wanted to show one last pose here. This one I think I was in the middle of my individual routine. I was going into a crucifix pose. That was my opening pose for my routine. I want to eventually share that video with you of my posing routine on video. I think that would be really cool to show you guys. But this is kind of like my crucifix pose. So going into it, I really love doing it, and I think I've slowly gotten better at it. Of course, the waist, the vacuum really plays a big role in that pose, at least with my body composition. So I was starting to pull a vacuum in that pose, and the overall flow is pretty decent. Now, of course, my conditioning could still be better. I keep nailing that, but it is true. My conditioning could be better in this. But overall, I did like doing this. This was my opening pose for my routine. So I'll eventually get that over to you guys, but I really love this a lot. This was a really cool pose. And actually, for the most part, the symmetry wise, at least from this angle, looks pretty decent. There's not too many complaints that I could see. I feel like the lats could be a little bit brought out more, but again, that's during a transition, so they could have looked a little more brought out once I got to the final form of that pose. But I do like it a lot. So guys, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to cover some of my overall poses and to show you different areas. So my main areas that I'm going to be focusing on, for one, is my chest. It definitely needs some work. Shoulders could use some work. I feel like they're going to come up pretty quickly, faster than the chest will. The chest is just going to need a lot of different angles to be hit on. And my glutes is another one that I got feedback from the judges on the second competition, which I'll go over more later, but that needs some work. And my overall legs could definitely use some more toning, some more definition, so some more striations, which is the breakup of the different muscle tissues. So there's a lot ahead, guys. I want to share with you. I want to share with you some awesome training videos. I'm going to be going to Florida literally in about a month from now. At the end of December, I'm going to be working out at Old Town Fitness in Key West, one of the most classic gyms I've been to so far. It's going to be my second time. Super stoked about that, but I will get more updates on that on my Instagram and channel coming up here. So until then, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any feedback or you would like to give me, or if you have any questions, feel free to just drop it in the comment section below. I am definitely more than happy to answer anything that you got. And I would eventually like to do a Q&A session too. I really love doing those. I did them on my Instagram. But nevertheless, guys, thank you so much for watching. Click the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, guys, never forget that every day is a golden moment in time. This is Mad Class. Cheers.